I stand all alone on the edge of the platform. This is the high dive. It looks so easy, so doable from below. But all that changes up here as a slight breeze ruffles my hair and brings goosebumps to my exposed skin. Below my feet, I see the lake, dark chocolate reflecting the sky in broken bits as waves lap the dock. I could easily walk right back down the ladder to that dock, but I'm glued to my spot. There's no way I'll humiliate myself going back, but going forward feels impossible, insurmountable. "Come on, Al," my mother yells from below. Her voice is not friendly or encouraging. She wants to go home and is tired of waiting for me to make up my mind. As she picks up her bag and begins to walk up the grassy embankment, her back turned towards me, I let out a sigh, lean over the edge, and drop in, hitting the water with a smacking thud. I should mention here, I'm 5 years old. You're listening to Blissful Hiker Podcast. I'm Allison Young, the solo, female, middle-aged, titanium-reinforced, neurological movement disorder manager, cancer thriver, and long-distance backpacker, blissful hiker. This podcast is a series of personal essays that couple storytelling, found sound, and my own flute playing, and I explore a journey of self-discovery. We're badass people, and we don't need permission to blaze our own trails in this journey we call life. Thanks so much for being one of the over 100,000 downloads. You can spread the word by leaving a 5-star rating and a short review on Apple. And if you're loving Blissful Hiker Podcast, consider sharing with your friends and family. That moment from over 50 years ago is seared in my memory. There was no joy or celebration that day, no pat on the back. Sadly, jumping off the high dive at 5 years old did not build my confidence in being in the water. Later, I tried to prove to the lifeguard that I knew how to swim, so I'd be allowed to go where the big kids swim. I saw my brothers and held up my hands to say, "Look at me!" And as I yelled to them, my mouth filled with water. They completely ignored me, and the lifeguard sent me right back to the kiddie pool. Well, as you know, I'm a hiker, but I do love swimming, too. I've never been a very accomplished swimmer, though easy laps in a local lake have helped me get back in shape when I didn't want to put weight on my broken foot. But ever since those moments as a child, I felt insecure in water, wondering if it would simply take me under and swallow me whole. And that fear and anxiety has haunted me whenever taking part in activities that require immersing myself in water. And swimming isn't the only thing that requires immersing myself in water. So does kayaking. I know, it seems a good kayaker would stay out of the water. But as my friend Peter describes kayaking, paddling is the short moments in the boat between swimming. Good boat handling and a bomb-proof brace usually does keep a paddler upright. But all of us have had to assume we'll tip over eventually in rough conditions. And we need to know how to get back into our boats quickly, efficiently, and safely, especially if the water is cold. I have no problem belly flopping from the water onto my boat and snaking back into the cockpit. It's that flipping upside down once I'm in my boat, wrenching off my spray skirt, and coming to the surface that really freaks me out. Call me claustrophobic and totally disoriented when upside down. What if I get trapped in my spray skirt and I can't get out? So this past weekend, I faced down those fears, and I took an all-day kayaking class. Most of the day was dedicated to improving our strokes, while what we call wet exits were saved for the end of the day. That just gave me more time to freak out. It does seem a bit ridiculous considering the lake we chose was calm and relatively warm on an 80-degree day. Plus, 5 boaters were nearby should I breathe in a mouthful of water and pass out. My fear of sinking to the bottom was totally unfounded. I was wearing a personal flotation device, which would hold my head up no matter what happened. Right before I had to go in the water, our teacher Sam taught us how to make tight turns, and we were playing a game of maneuvering around a buoy. As we finished and rafted up around him, bouncing gently in tiny waves, Sam looked right at me and said, "The time has come." I immediately started crying. Let's talk a little bit about creating a positive learning environment. All those tears came from the 5-year-old Allison and not the rational grown-up Allison. But a good teacher makes all the difference. Sam didn't roll his eyes or act impatient. Instead, he showed respect for me and my fear, then gently helped me let go of it. Rather than just toss me in the water, Sam offered a step-by-step approach. The mind can more easily hold on to bite-sized steps rather than cascading directions, where the fear can take over and cause us to move too quickly or forget a step. He started by placing his boat in a T next to mine, and then he had me hold the bow while gently leaning over and touching the water with my head, pulling right back up if it felt scary. Sam also encouraged risk-taking. Everyone else was already in the water, but for me, this was a big risk. So it helped that he offered me nose plugs, taking away one of the uncomfortable consequences of being upside down in a lake. I felt safe now, holding on while dipping, then eventually letting go of his boat entirely. And without my spray skirt, my body simply fell out of the boat without any effort on my part, and I swam to the surface. Sam also provided feedback and guidance. I trusted Sam because his comments were effective. He didn't say, "Come on, hurry up." He gave me all the time I needed. Now, the first time I turned the boat over, I banged right into it as I came up. And he suggested the next time I toss my body out a bit more as I flipped over, which actually mimics real conditions. His calm guidance caused me to do just that and come to the surface, clearing the boat entirely. It also had an added benefit, which he didn't mention. As I cleared the boat and came up naturally, I held onto my paddle and also grabbed my boat so it wouldn't float away. The next step was to fall in the water with my spray skirt tightly affixed to my boat. That's really kind of scary because you feel like you can't get out. But rather than have me panic underwater trying to find the release loop, he suggested putting both hands on the loop as I went in. Once I did that and the spray skirt came right off in my hands, I knew I'd find the loop again in any situation. And if I didn't, I could just throw my knees up and it would snap right off. The most important thing that Sam did, though, in all of the steps, was he promoted a growth mindset. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. If you're teaching someone or if you're learning something, Sam set up a series of steps where failure really wasn't part of the equation. Rather, what he emphasized was exploring and trying as far as I wanted to go. He didn't belittle my fear with a lecture on the importance of learning this particular skill. He instead put wet exits within a constellation of skills that I'd want to learn to increase my confidence in the water and make kayaking more enjoyable. Obviously, I absolutely needed to learn this skill, but he presented it as growing and improving rather than winning or losing. In the end, I fell in the water 5 times, and I assisted a rescue twice. My confidence increased, my skills improved, and my fear was vanquished. Just wanting to get better and do something out of my comfort zone wasn't enough. I needed a guide who possessed strong leadership and teaching skills. By the end of the day, the crinkly, blissful smile had returned, and I was buzzing with plans for my next kayak adventure, including plenty of falling out of my boat. Blissful Hiker Podcast is on all podcast platforms, and thanks so much for listening and coming along with me on this journey. I'm honored to have been selected to give my first TEDx talk. It happens on October 10th in Manchester, New Hampshire, and my talk is on resilience and stepping forward into the unknown. It will be recorded for a later broadcast, but if you live in the Boston area and want to come, I'd be thrilled. I've put a link to purchase tickets with a discount code in the show notes. Until we meet again, kia kaha and happy trails.